Hey, what's up everyone, it's Mir, and I hope you guys are having a nice summer. I personally had to deal with a 30 degrees Celsius hot wind at 4 AM the other day, so I could be doing better. But of course, that was just an excuse to segue into the topic of today's video, which is the other hot wind that we had to deal with this summer in Street Fighter 6, and that's Rashid of the Turbulent Wind and his titular wind mechanic. Even though we already made some videos on Rashid, like the combo guide and some setup guides and stuff that you can find on our channel, it's important to explain this mechanic, especially for beginners, as I see that there's still some confusion about how it works. So in case you missed it, Rashid has a unique mechanic where he can enhance his moves with the power of the wind. So as I was saying, Rashid can enhance his moves with the power of the wind, and this is very useful to know if you're a Rashid player, but even if you are someone that just plays against them online, it's still important information to have, so let's dive straight into it. Rashid can set up the wind buff in a few different ways. The first one is to use his level 2, Isar, which is a Street Fighter 5 V trigger, and the tornado goes on as you see, and then there's a little smaller tornado that persists for a little bit after it hits, and as long as any of his special moves that actually get enhanced by the wind collide with this tornado, they will get enhanced, as I can demonstrate here. You can see how I get an enhanced mixer. If I go through, I can get an enhanced eagle spike and so on. The second method to set up this wind buff is using his special moves. Namely, Rashid can charge his fireballs. He can do them on charge like this, can do a partial charge where he gets 2 hits, or a full charge where he will get 3 hits, and you see that he leaves a little tornado behind, and this tornado lasts for about a second, and then you can use your special moves to go through it, and then it will get enhanced, just like it happened with the level 2. This is true for the OD version of the fireball as well. If you charge it all the way, you'll see that it leaves the tornado behind that you can then use to enhance your moves. The other special that Rashid can use is Circle Back 2 Punches, that's his Arabian Cyclone, and you see there after the little fireball dissipates, the tornado spawns and Rashid can use it to enhance his special moves. In this case, compared to the fireball, it lasts a little bit longer because it spawns later. The duration is actually the same, but you effectively get more time to use it to your advantage. This is of course quite useful to know, as Circle Back 2 Punches is faster than your own fireball, and it also deletes opponent projectiles, as I can demonstrate here. So you can use it in Fireball Wars to defeat the opponent's projectile and then use an enhanced special move to get in, for example. Okay, so now we know how to set up the buff, but let's actually figure out what it does. So as I mentioned before, wind enhances Rashid's special moves as well as some of his movement options. So let's start with the special moves first. The first move that gets enhanced by the wind is his Circle Back Kick. It's his Eagle Spike, and you'll see it has much more range and it does a little bit more damage. Normally it does 1100. If you do the medium or the heavy version, you'll see that it goes full screen and Rashid bounces off the opponent as opposed to being right next to them. But it's also much safer on block. Normally this move is minus 36, which means it's basically death, but when you use it with the enhancement of the wind, it's actually really difficult to punish, if at all punishable for most characters. So turn on the frame data here, you see heavy eagle spike minus 36, but with the wind buff it is instead only minus 15 and you're full screen away. Normally on punish counter, medium and heavy eagle spike don't do anything, they just get extra damage, but with the wind enhancement effect, instead they get a tumble roll, as you can see there, and you get to do a combo. You can combo another medium or heavy eagle spike, which is pretty funny. It does a lot of damage. You also get to combo an OD eagle spike, for example, which is just devastating. And this can happen if the opponent, for example, is during the recovery of a fireball that you maybe deleted with your Arabian Cyclone here, or with your level 2, or for example, if you go for a setup where the opponent whiffs a throw and you hit them during the recovery, you get devastating damage. So this is really useful to know. So Rashid can kind of sit full screen with these eagle spikes and just pester you on block, and you lose a lot of drive gauge if you're not parrying, so it can be particularly annoying to deal with this. So you might figure that one way to stop Rashid is to try and throw out a projectile that maybe will stop the eagle spike, as the eagle spike is not projectile invulnerable. The enhanced eagle spike, just like the normal ones, is indeed vulnerable to projectiles. As you see there, I just get hit and fall down. However, the OD version is projectile invincible, because of course it is, and then you get comboed afterwards for damage. Another special move that gets enhanced by the wind effect is Spinning Mixer. As you see, all the versions get extra range, extra hits, and extra damage. The Light Punch Mixer goes from this to basically a full screen get in move. If you hit, you get a combo. If the opponent blocks, it's actually plus on block, so it's Rashid's turn. This is a very good situation for Rashid, as at +2, you can go for a strike to keep the opponent in check, you can go for a throw if the opponent is dedicated to blocking. If they decide to try and walk away from you, you have a cancelable crouching medium kick, so you can use that to go into Light Mixer, for example, which is safe on block anyway, and you can use that to keep applying pressure afterwards, or maybe you can go for a knockdown of some kind. You can convert into a drive rush combo and score a knockdown that way, loop into more pressure. This is just extremely powerful, and also it has a lot of pushback on block. You see that it basically corner carries the opponent on block in the first place, so this is a very powerful get in tool. OD Mixer also gets enhanced and it gets more hits and more damage, just like the other spinning mixers. However, it has a new unique property, which is the fact that you can cancel it into Rashid's double jump and get a combo this way. And in fact, you can cancel it into the OD version of the double jump to score even more damage. As you can see right there, so like the possibilities are definitely there to do some pretty devastating combos. Even though those are the only two special moves that are affected by the wind mechanic, it doesn't end here for Rashid, as his movement is also enhanced by going through any wind effect, namely his run, which you do by doing forward and holding forward. You can see that if you go through a tornado, you cover more distance, and in general you are faster on the ground as well. And one of the follow-ups to the run, which is this kick follow-up, also gets enhanced if you go through a tornado. You'll see that it has a knockdown effect, and you can combo afterwards for extra damage. A fairly simple example of how to use that effect in combos is by doing his target combo into the Arabian Cyclone. You can run follow-up and then do a spinning mixer at the end for extra damage. Interestingly enough, it's not just his forward dash that gets influenced, but his back dash also. You see that it normally covers just about that distance, but if you go through a wind effect, you see that I go about twice as far. This could be useful for baiting some reversals. Maybe when you're doing mix-ups with the level 2, you can use it to go in and then go out, and maybe again try to bait something. So this is something worth noting. Rashid is all about the jumps, and of course his jumps are also affected by the wind mechanic, as you can see here on full screen, and I can jump in on Dalsim from all the way over there, so if they're doing a fireball or trying to get a stock of resource or something, you can go and punish them. In fact, from full screen, if you do the Arabian Cyclone, you can cross them up instead, which is pretty funny, honestly. And this is an option that is particularly useful if the opponent is trying to stop you on the ground, say with extended limbs. Fireballs, maybe you don't have overdrive to use on an enhanced eagle spike, or you have not committed to the read. So that's another option that you have. And of course, from these enhanced jumps, you can also do your double jump just in case, you know, if you want to mix up the trajectory in the air. And the opponent, of course, should be wary of this if you are playing on the defensive, as Rashid has all these crazy air trajectory changing moves. So you should be more careful with your anti-airs and maybe try to meet him in the air if you feel uncomfortable anti-airing him on the ground. Some of Rashid's normals also get affected by the wind, although the frame data doesn't change, the distance travel change. So forward medium punch is the first one, forward heavy kick is the second one, and forward heavy punch. Out of these moves, the only one that goes full screen is forward medium punch, and it is minus on block. The others don't quite reach, as you can see right there. But you can combine this together with drive rush for hilarious effects like that. That's a plus on block move, full screen. The last two options that are affected are the side flip and the side flip into the front flip, which is a follow-up to the side flip, and you'll see here how I get extra ground. This is an attack that actually goes through the opponent, so you can use it to switch positions, and is particularly useful with level 2 because you can trick the opponent into blocking a certain way and then the other. You know, you can do some silly things like that. At a certain angles, it can be particularly tricky. The front flip also gets enhanced, as I mentioned, and you can cover a huge amount of ground and like just skedaddle out of there. So this is potentially useful for mix-ups or for repositioning on the screen. However, you won't see this too often, as it is, you know, like it covers a lot of ground, but really you're nowhere close to the opponent, so you're not pressuring, which is what Rashid wants to do. So to summarize, Rashid can spawn these little tornadoes using his fully charged fireball, his OD Arabian Cyclone, or his level 2, and these enhance some of the special moves like the spinning mixer, it enhance the ego spike, and they also change his movement. Now that you know how the mechanic works, hopefully you'll learn how to use it better as a Rashid player, or formulate a game plan on defense against Rashid, especially if they're trying to set up the buff from full screen and trying to get in. This was just a short informative video on how the win mechanic works for Rashid, and this is particularly aimed at people that don't know much about Rashid or are interested in trying him out or are beginners. We also have other guides on Rashid on our channel. If you want more content like this, we have our combo guide, a setup guide, and more. So I highly suggest you check him out. And speaking of that, I will check out instead, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.